to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Board of Public Affairs meeting, for May 21st, 2019. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 7th, 2019 regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Garrett?
Yep.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen? Yes.
Next is a hearing of public concerns. Is there anyone that'd like to address the board? You'd step up to the podium, please.
My name's John Bryan. I'm the owner of Bryan Washington, Maritime Car Wash on South Main across from Walmart. We operate what's called an express tunnel wash, and this type of wash is fairly energy intensive when it's not raining. So, in other words, my demand goes like this. Just a little background of, the reason that it's like that is people don't want to wait all day to get their car hand washed and so forth. A typical car is in the building for about 3 minutes. Yeah, occasionally we get a line, and that's what caused my demand to go way up. But back in January, I was looking at my expenses for the year. The accountant gave me all this, and it just came to me that my demand electric was $4,200 higher than in 2017, and I walked less cars. So I got to looking at it and I thought, well, there's something wrong with the metering equipment because I haven't changed anything. The basic equipment has been there for 40 years. Yes, a lot of things have been replaced, and we always put in more efficient motors, but the connected load is 110 kilowatts, and that's it. So I said, oh, something's wrong with my meter. So I came out here and I talked to Dawn, and she was communicating with Kevin, and they were nice enough to send Al Sullivan down, and he looked over everything, and he said, I can't see anything wrong, and so I looked more into it, and where it is in my demand. I'm allowed, I'm on the general service rate, which is appropriate most of the time. There's some months, in an ideal world, if the sun would shine all the time, I could be on a large power rate and be fine. So Al ran a bunch of scenarios, and so that once I fully understood it, and they did prepare this for me, and you can see on here that a lot of times I pay 24 cents a kilowatt hour, which is like California money. That's twice what it should be, more than twice what it should be. In communities that have, or like Toledo Edison, I'm from Defiance, and Toledo Edison has a general service, a medium general service, and a large power. And their medium general service allows 100 kVA, so people like me. So I thought, okay, what can I do about this? I've got to get down so I'm only paying for the power that I'm using. And the penalty is, you have no cost associated with that penalty. That money's just gone. It's free money for you, and very burdensome for me. And in fact, in penalties alone, I paid $9,600 in 2018. So, thinking about what to do, all of a sudden it dawned on me, I need to split the business into the washing and the drying. I have 6 blowers at the end that draw half of the power. So why not just call in Able Electric and put 2 services in? And so I kind of checked around to see, I said, that can't possibly be legal. They aren't going to let me do that. Well, you can't not let me do it. I mean, I get 2 federal ID numbers. I've got 2 properties on the drive-through. I could just cable it over from the drive-through. Anyway, I could do it that way and draw 50 off of each one. Problem is that to do the distribution, my part of it is about $8,700. Well, not a bad investment because it had like a 9-month payback. But then more rumors were running, and I talked to Kevin, and he said, well, we're studying our rates. I thought, well, maybe they're going to add a general service, a medium general service rate, and I could bump up 1 instead of going all the way to large power, and most of the time that would protect me. But then I thought, well, there's another possibility here, and I see in the fine print in the general service rate, you can do single phase and 3-phase with 1 meter. That you have that written in there so that you have to put out less equipment, and the meters are smart enough today to do that. So I was wondering if the board would allow me to have 2 3-phase services with my existing meter. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we could do it without any board. I mean, it doesn't specifically say it. You have a lot of flexibility written in there on how you meter, down to even estimating it. And my load, while it doesn't look that, I mean, it's very weather dependent. It doesn't look that consistent, but you can audit my connected load, and you can see that I couldn't exceed a certain. So I'm just wondering. I probably would go ahead with the $8,700 investment if no action's going to be taken. So what I kind of like to know is if something's going to happen in the, before I get that paid off, or even if my new scenario would all of a sudden fall apart, that it reduced it from 50 to 25, and then I'd be back on the penalties again. So I guess what I want to know is where are we going with the study, and is it possible to split my meter in software so I don't have to put in the extra equipment. That's it all boils down to this last column. What I'm really paying for electricity, frankly, it's not fair. It's very burdensome, and and it continues to rise, and the reason for the $4,200 difference between 18 and 17 is simply the usage pattern. If I wash 200 cars on the 2nd of the month, I incur that $1,000 penalty for that month. And if I don't wash another car, you know, my power usage can cost $20 and my demand penalty is $1,000. Another thing, I was thinking about putting in electric car chargers at some point in my life. And all of a sudden I realized I can't run them with the available rate schedule. A Tesla supercharger draws 135 kilowatts for a half hour. The first car that pulled on my lot, it had cost me $1,300 to charge that car. And I could charge in $6. So I think it's probably time to move the technology ahead. Okay.
Well, just to point out here, I do want to say something. Of course, we want to keep your electric in the city, no doubt about that. So I would say don't make any moves right now, and the board and I will get together and see what we can do for you and validate some of these numbers that you're saying. You know, we want to keep it all local, and we understand your struggle here. So we'll be involved. I'll get involved. Looks like Don already did most of the work for you, so it's a nice spreadsheet, and we'll just have to dig into it a little deeper, see what we can do for you. So I'm not saying we can do anything, but I'm definitely going to try for you.
If there is a problem with that split, you know, two service thing, I'd like to know that too. I mean, I know Kevin knows the, you know, the rules, and he said, well, yeah, you can do that, but it's gonna cost, and that's gonna cost you guys too, because, you know, these guys are gonna be out there, you know, moving stuff around, and that's, if we can do that in software, even as an interim fix, I'd like to do it, but I sort of need to do something about it pretty quick, because the recent weather's been really hard on us. And, you know, we do a lot for the community. We hire a bunch of high school kids, and also support 5 families have payroll over 300,000, and so we're paying significant city income tax, and we're a pretty good citizen of Bryan and general.
Been there for a long time.
And you love your water. That's really nice. I was formerly involved in Defiance Wash and Fill, and you know, to get that water to quit spotting, a lot of chemicals.
We will do anything we possibly can to help you with this.
That would have been my suggestion, John, was my first thought was to split service. I think we need to talk about that, so I don't misspeak. And like Derek says, we'll discuss this and see if there's anything, and I mean anything, that we can do to help you out.
And if I may, I think there's a couple of things that are really driving this issue. The primary components of an electric bill, as he mentions, are the demand charge and the energy charge. And I think most people are familiar with an energy charge because you get that on your home bill, okay? It's so much per kilowatt hour, right? The demand charge is based on the maximum rate that you're using kilowatt hours. So it'd be like gallons per minute or miles per hour, okay? And there's a demand charge because electric is a real-time business. If he turns on something down there, a power plant has to be running already somewhere to take care of it. The power has to be transmitted to Bryan and then distributed through an appropriately sized transformer so that it doesn't overload the transformer to be able to provide this service. Okay, so if you establish that maximum rate, then if you kept it running all month long, it's pretty easy to serve, right? Because the same stuff is all in place. But in the case of the wash and fill here, you can see the load factor, which is a measure of the average demand to the peak demand, is down between some months 10%, rarely gets above 20%. And a typical commercial customer would have a load factor of between 30 and 40%. So the difference is he's throwing a lot of demand on the system relative to the amount of kilowatt hours that he's using. Hence, his cost is higher. Now, if you took that month where it was 24 cents per kilowatt hour and you adjusted the energy to make it a 30% load factor, your cost would have been 12.63 cents. All right. So, but to get there, you would have paid $821 more on your power bill. And so I think for most folks, if they had to choose between what's my cost per kilowatt hour and what's my total bill, they would choose, I'd rather write a lower check. So instead of paying $2,373, you paid $1,552. And so I want to make sure everybody understands when we talk about this, that if you're throwing high demands with low energy on there, your bill is going to be high. Now, one of the things that he mentioned is that we are taking a look at those rates, and this general service rate can be an issue for some folks. Typically, you see a demand general service rate and a non-demand general service rate. We don't have that. It's all together here. Now, he gets the first 50 kilowatts in that rate. There's no additional charge. So all he's paying for is everything above 50. So it's not a penalty of any sort. It's the demand charge, and it's based on the maximum rate. But when a car goes through, you can't really control what equipment you have on or not, right? It all operates. And so there's the problem. Like he says, if cars were running through there 24/7.
15-minute window,
Yeah.
15-minute window helps me,
Right.
except when I run bumper to bumper.
Right.
Then I go into,
Yeah,
draw, 100
Yeah.
for 4 hours
Right.
sometimes.
Right. So I think, if we have these two options, then we can run his bill both ways and see which one's more advantageous to him. But it's still going to be higher than the average commercial customer if the load factor remains as low as it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't change that load factor when the
Now-
customer's out there.
The one thing that I noticed, though, looking at these numbers, John, for that account, are that in 2018, your average demand was 1,081, and in 2017, it was 929. So it's increased from that time. And that's all, every one of those KW is times $20 a KW a month. So I'm not sure if there's additional equipment that's been added or it's being operated in a different way, but it's increased for some reason there between those two. If you look at that number in 2017, you can see you were down as low as 66 KW and your high was 97 at the end of 2017, and then you were over 100 a couple of times early in 2018. So it appears more stuff is turning on during that 15-year window.
Yeah, in January, I went through and I looked at, I've got a duplex, I've got 2 compressors.
Mhm.
I've got a duplex on those, and I made sure those were, I don't know if something happened, but I see in 19,
Yeah,
I mean, when I first, I had 2 over 1,000
yeah,
demands and.
Right.
and, already in 19, and
right,
that's, because of the weather, that's been
right.
pathetic, so I replaced 2 blowers
Okay,
in early 18.
okay. It looks like it got lower as the year went by, because then you got back down to around 80 instead of about 100. But the demand rate hasn't changed during this time. It's been $20 throughout this entire period per KW. So if the demand charges are more, it's because the demand has been higher in that case. So But we'll be glad to continue working with you, John, and, you know, what I suggested to him is maybe he doesn't do any physical changes right now, pending the outcome of this rate study.
That's the reason, even the service split, you
Right.
know, I don't wanna do it until I
Right.
exhaust all cheaper possibilities.
Right.
I mean, maybe I can't recover the entire $9,619, but,
Right.
you know, I can
Yeah,
get half
so there, it may work out cheaper for you if we create this new rate with both the demand and non-demand PS rate. And then we can, like I say, run it both ways for you and see which one is most financially advantageous to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Anybody else would like to address the board? If not, clerk treasurer's report.
The board's been presented with the clerk treasurer's report for the month ending April 30th, 2019.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the clerk treasurer's report.
Second.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
Next is a request to advertise for industrial drive substation project construction bids. Lori, would you number the read, please?
Resolution number 23, 2019, authorizing the Director of Utilities to advertise for bids for construction of the Industrial Drive Substation Project.
The board may recall that we recently authorized soliciting bids for the equipment portion of this substation. Those equipment bids are due June 6th, and so we'll have a pretty good idea of that portion of the project cost in the next few weeks. We're far enough along, and you may recall the longest lead time was on getting the equipment, so we didn't have any concern about waiting a few more weeks to finish up the construction plans and specifications. And so we're here tonight to request to advertise for bids for the actual construction of the substation.
So this will be for the equipment part of it.
This will be for assembling it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
The
That's
equipment
right.
bid will come in June the 6th, it's due.
That's what I meant to
So we'll
say.
probably, at the second board meeting in June, have something for your consideration there.
Okay,
This is for the actual construction of the substation, using the equipment that you've already bid.
And it does move the completion date out a little bit. Not much, but,
Yeah, the weather hasn't been very cooperative, but
yeah.
we'll hope for better weather here, and maybe we can get things done a little sooner than that, but they're still hoping to have it substantially complete by the end of the first quarter of 2020.
So a lot of construction going on in the cold winter weather.
Yeah, a lot of it, though, of course, with the underground work and things, we'll be able to have done before that, so like the foundations for the transformer and the breakers and things, and the bus that's in there should all be done before that. They'll be assembling it then, perhaps during the coldest weather, and finishing up the work in the relay house there. But hopefully before the weather gets real bad, all of that will be done and be ready to just start setting that stuff on as it arrives.
A little bit of just-in-time
Yeah,
on the equipment delivery, huh?
and we've constructed substations in bad weather.
Yeah, I could think of one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Lawrence substation we constructed through the winter of 1981 to 82, and it was pretty cold sometimes, actually, that's for sure.
Kind of like the solar project, remember? Muddy mess, those guys.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't always work out. I guess this is the logical next step, so I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
It's 23, correct?
Yeah.
Next is another resolution. Would you number and read, please, Lori?
Resolution number 24, 2019, to support the bid award for the 2019 street improvements for Bryan North Industrial Park, connecting Beeman Street and Brunicardie Way construction project, including Beeman Street and Johnson Drive water main extensions.
Yeah, this formalizes, if approved by the board, the recommendation of the county commissioners, well, I guess the board of the county commissioners have already done for the project. BMU's portion of that is only for the water line extension, water main extension on Beeman Street, and then also the connection between Beeman Street and Brunicardie Way. And you may recall that that bid was totaled here a little over $88,000, but through the work that Bryan Whelan, the city engineer, did, we were able to secure grants for all but $14,205.82 of that bid. So we're asking for your blessing to send to the county commissioners on our portion of that project. Now, you may recall, it was at the last meeting, wasn't it, Lori, where we talked about we have to advance all of that money, and then we will get the all but $14,000 out back.
Yeah.
So,
I'd like to thank Bryan Whelan publicly for helping us out with that. We saved a ton of money.
He's good at this.
yeah, I'm trying to remember, the total project cost was almost $750,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, 746.
It's a lot of money.
The county got $300,000 from CDBG, and then the city came in with $100,000 from ODOT and $300,000 on an Ohio DAS jobs grant, so.
I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 24.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes. Sorry.
Next, a request to oppose Ohio House Bill 6.
Yes, the board has received some information regarding this proposed House bill. The primary purpose of the bill appears to be to provide financial subsidies for the nuclear generation in the state of Ohio. First Energy has been trying a number of different ways to make sure that they can keep that generation running by securing additional funding from others in the state. And although that part of it would not impact the city of Bryan, what it does is effectively cuts us out of any renewable energy certificate marketing in the future. And the board is aware, in 2018, the RECs that we sold from the Ogways hydroelectric plant and the Bryan solar field totaled almost $100,000, which if this bill was enacted, there would be no Ohio market for those RECs anymore. And then when you throw in what the REC sales were from the other renewable projects that AMP operates on our behalf, like the Belleville hydroelectric project and the other hydro projects, the RECs from the Blue Creek wind farm, that's almost another $150,000 last year. So about $250,000 that if that disappears, then that money will have to be recovered from our electric customers. So we're going the wrong way here with this bill. Not that, again, that we would be part of that charge that would be enacted under this bill, but it effectively takes us out of being able to sell any renewable energy certificates here in the state of Ohio for the projects that the community has invested in over the last 20 years.
We need to have Lori number this. Would you read the number, please?
Resolution number 25, 2019, opposing Ohio House Bill 6.
Sounds like a no-brainer as far as our end of it.
I'd like to make a motion, we oppose House Bill 6 and Resolution 25.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yeah.
Karen?
Yes.
Derek?
Abstain.
Would it be beneficial for us to ask council to maybe oppose?
If they would be willing to do so, I think it would be very beneficial.
I would be happy to put it on the next agenda. I just got the email and wanted you guys to have the opportunity to oppose it before I gave it to council Monday night, so I was.
Good idea. Good.
Next is a request to hire a probationary IT technician / help desk support employee.
Good evening. At this time, we respectfully request to hire Heath Grimm as a probationary IT technician help desk support employee. Heath comes with over 15 years of experience in the IT world. He also has experience with the servers and the VMware, so as we continue to improve our systems, he already has that experience and knowledge to move in and help out in those areas.
Looks like it'd be a good fit. I'll make a motion we approve.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Glad to have him aboard.
Understanding comes highly recommended by Cody.
He does.
Good.
Next is a request to hire a temporary part-time seasonal labor for the water department.
Yes, we would like to hire Clayton Root as the temporary part-time seasonal labor employee for the water department. He will spend most of his summer freshening up the fire hydrants around town. There's around 500 and some of them that could use a fresh coat of paint, so.
College?
He is a high school student here in Bryan.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll make a motion we approve.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is a discussion regarding cable television rates.
Your favorite thing, Joe.
There's Joe.
Well, each year we have to visit this unpleasant situation. Before we go to the rates that you have in front of you, we have significant program increases each year. The broadcast stations are crippling the industry. I received a technical bulletin just yesterday. There's a lot of small operators across the country that are starting to drop broadcast stations from their lineup because they are getting to where they cannot pass that cost through to the customers. We can't do that here because we have direct competition. Obviously, if we dropped our broadcast stations, we'd be out of the video business in a hurry. So we have to keep paying these costs. Alone this year, our cost for basic programming, which includes most of the broadcast stations, went up almost 24%. Our expanded basic programming went up 7%. Before the broadcast stations started charging us these exorbitant fees a few years ago, our average programming increase per year was about 7%, which reflected in the rate increases. So this year, we went back and forth. Kevin and Don and myself have really worked hard to try to come up with something fair and reasonable for the customers. We can't pass every dollar of this on to the customers. It's going to be too burdensome, especially for a lot of our senior citizens. So we've elected to come up with a rate that we think is as fair as possible, and with a discount rate that we've never offered before. About a month ago, I requested a meeting up to Clerk Treasurer's office, and I met with Lori and Pat, and we worked together, and they have advised me that we can create another rate code to take care of this discount and to enact it. And it's going to take a lot of work to enroll out, but once we get it rolled out, then we'll be okay. It's very frustrating to have to pass these rates on to these customers. The customers tend to, and this is industry-wide, it's not just in Bryan, it's industry-wide where I live and everyone else. The customers tend to blame the cable operator. It is not the cable operator's fault that this is happening. We don't even roll out other added costs that we have in the department, such as benefits, labor, wages, material costs, maintenance, all those things that go into operating the system each year. We don't pass those through to the customers. We only pass through the programming. So with that being said, we'll go through what the rates are here.
Joe, can I mention one thing?
Sure.
You talked about the programming cost increasing by 24%. But to put that in dollars per month per subscriber, you know, our basic rate right now is $29.74 per month. But between January 1 of 2018 and January 1 of 2019, the programming cost for that tier increased more than $8 per subscriber per month.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct?
It was $8 for both of them.
Okay.
It's $6 just for basic.
For basic.
And we're talking about just a few channels, as you know.
On a total bill of less than $30 a month.
Right.
So you can see how a couple of years of that really creates financial havoc for us if we don't pass along some or all of that cost.
Right. And the expanded basic, the way it works is it incurs the basic plus expanded basic program cost. Hence the around $8 this time. But we elected to not take that increase this time. We're mid-year. But we do think that each year, probably around the end of January, we're going to need to visit rates for the entire year for that year. And it has to be based upon what programming rates are projected for that year. For example, January of 2020, for whatever we expect in 2020. But for this year, we think that this late in the year that it's going to be difficult to roll that in and turn that out. So what we did is, if you look up there on the board, our current rate, as Kevin said, is $29.74. Extended $71.74. That included the rate increase last year of $1.75 that we did for the bounce and escape from Fox 36. And digital basic is $11.99. We've tried to keep that rate down over the years as much as possible. So what we did is we discussed it and we said, okay, well, let's do a $4 rate increase for basic and extended and a $1 rate increase for digital basic. Where constitutes those rates that you see, $33.74 for basic, $75.74 for extended basic, and then $12.99 for digital basic. Okay, And the bundled rate basically is if you have extended basic cable and internet, either package of internet, you will receive a $4 discount on your expanded basic bill, which in effect, you don't have an expanded basic increase for this year. It stays flat. That is the extra rate code that the clerk's office will have to create once we bring the resolution to the board and ask for approval. And the internet rates at $31 for high speed and $45 for enhanced do not change. They stay the same. And then down below we put a couple of samples. Somebody's got extended basic and high speed. They're going to have $102.74 for their entire bill. And then of course sample 2 is the same scenario with enhanced internet, which is $14 more, and then it's $116.74. Of course, this does not include any taxes, fees, or anything else that we add. Franchise fees, broadcast fees, any of those things we don't add on for our customers. We think this is the fairest way to try to offer a bundle to our customers, which we've not done so in the past. We cannot do this on basic cable because the programming costs are too exorbitant. We cannot absorb those. So anybody that has basic cable and internet will not receive the discount. It's only for extended basic and internet. Obviously, if you have extended basic without internet, then you will pay the new rate of $75, $74, etc. And if the board considers this and discusses it, we would not bring a resolution to you to ask for your approval until probably the first meeting in June. That way we have time for the 30-day notification to work with Lori to let our customers know on the bill messages to roll out the beginning rate at the appropriate time. Is there any questions or comments?
It's sad that we have to deal with this year after year with the increasing rates.
How many times have you had to stand there and talk about this?
More
But
than
this
I-
should be the last, right?
Yes.
It's never ending because the FCC takes away any chance we have of negotiating with channels. I mean, they tell you what channels you have to carry or what area of channels you have to carry. I mean, they tie our hands.
Jim, I checked today on a scenario that I've been considering, and I wanted to get an answer on it. So I contacted our main programmer today, and I asked, has any of the members of the NCTC, has anybody been able to create a tier to where you block out all of the broadcast stations and allow people to have the other programming? I already knew the answer before asking. And he said no, he hadn't, and he'd had several people asking. Here's the reason we can't do it. The FCC used to state that we had to do must carry on all the broadcast stations. We're in the Toledo DMA, so that's who we have to carry. Well, about 2008, they forced all the broadcast stations to convert to all digital technology and for all their signals to be transmitted digitally. When they did that, it caused a great expense to your local broadcast stations because they had to change transmitters, antennas, and then sometimes even towers. It was a lot of dollars they had to spend. So at that time, the FCC allowed to let them use the Cable Act of 1992 and to begin charging customers, i.e. us, cable operators, for carrying their signals. They could have done it years ago, but they didn't because they elected must carry. So they went into retransmission consent because they knew that we had to carry them because our residents would demand it. So that's when this started. And from that point on, it's just getting more and more each year. And we cannot create that tier because it's in the agreements and in the contracts that every cable operator in the United States has. that you have, if you're offering video services over cable and you have any tiers, you have to carry that. The only way we could not get around that is if we drop those stations, which we obviously cannot do. So that's the best answer I can give you, Jim.
It's hard to believe. I'm just sitting here thinking, it's hard to believe there was ever a time, you know, when we first started this business and they took a poll of potential customers of what types of channels they wanted, and there were so many people who wanted Fort Wayne channels. But now they've gotten us to a point to where we can't afford it. As much as you'd like to keep the people happy, it's not practical.
At some point in time, they will price themselves out of business.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
I can see it.
So too.
And I've been as much of a gentleman as I can be to these people. I've spoken directly to these programs. And I said, folks, you are going to price yourself out of business. At some point in time, the resident at home is not going to pay for it. I don't. I've been an internet only customer for several years. Any more questions?
Well, Joe and I talked about this, and we thought it would be advantageous to share this information with you, so you had a couple of weeks to think about it, also to get public input on it, and we'll prepare something for your consideration at the next board meeting in June.
I like that bundling idea, Joe, that not only saves them $4 a month, but it allows us to absorb, you know, without having to raise the rates any higher.
I don't envy your job, Joe.
No. Thanks, Joe.
Next, pay the bills. Can I have a motion to pay the bills, please?
So move, Jim.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Next, comments from BPA and staff. Derek?
I don't really think I have anything to say.
Okay. Dick, you got anything?
No, I think everything's good. Like, I hate that you have to do what you do, Joe. I know you work hard at it and it gives you fits and probably an ulcer, but it is what it is. We knew that was not going to stop, and I guarantee you, you'll be there talking to us again. And it's a shame it's got to be that way, but it's the nature of the beast. I call it American greed. That'll shut up.
Karen?
I had a good time at the open house last, well, it was 2 weeks ago. Never saw the water warehouse look so good, so to all those who participated in that, it was a really good turnout, I think.
Okay.
Just a couple of things. We do have the Town Line Road water main replacement information meeting at 7 o'clock this evening. That will be at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at 515 Town Line Road. And any of the public is certainly welcome to attend as well. The OMEA Legislative Day is next Wednesday, the 29th, so we'll certainly take along a copy of this resolution that you adopted tonight to share with our legislators. Are any of the board interested in attending that as well? AMP is asking for a head count, so. Okay. That's all I had for you this evening.
Carrie?
I do have something. I received from the city of Shelby a resolution expressing their gratefulness, gratitude, and thankfulness for the mutual aid that helped rebuild and restore the tornado-damaged electric distribution system, specifically from the city of Bryan, Brad Plummer, and Brandon Sufel. This was mailed to mayors within the 15 cities and villages of AMP communities that assisted Shelby after their tornado on April 14th. So I'd be happy to leave this with you, and you can give this to your electric department with our gratitude as well that they were willing to go in the middle of the night. And I think I do remember them getting back here around 8 p.m. and had to go out onto State Route 15 to fix a downed box. So, you know, we all have a lot of great employees, but I want to make sure that they see that.
Thank you.
Good. Rhonda? Lori? Council members?
Put Laura, we had a little time, I'm like, who else is here?
Department heads?
Sometimes sneak behind me.
Max? Okay, I don't have much to add other than, Joe, I mean, you're doing a heck of a job, keep it up, I mean, it's discouraging sometimes, we do the best we can. And you, sir, I want you to know that we will do everything we can to work with you on your
Thank you very much.
situation, okay?
Oh, no problem. Thanks for coming.
Yes,
Are these
thank you.
meetings still on YouTube?
They are again now.
Yes, they will be now.
So this one will be tonight?
That's correct. That's correct. We don't live stream to YouTube anymore because of some of the issues that we've had with glitches during the upload, but they do upload them after the meeting is completed.
Yeah, I wanted to listen again to your discussion of the utilization.
Sure.
rate.
Well, and feel free to stop by anytime or give me a call if I can be.
Yeah, I probably will.
It's not necessarily a simple thing to explain, I understand, so if there's other questions that I can try to answer for you, please let me know.
Yeah, feel free to contact us.
I certainly appreciate it. You guys have been great working with me. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Okay, with that, we will go into executive session, and I would ask, besides the board members, Kevin, Carrie, if you would stay, Rhonda, if you would stay. Do we need?
I would take minutes. Lori to stay and
Okay,
take
that'd be
minutes.
fine, I was gonna question. And Don, if you could stay, please.